RusAme reader, RusAme, and today I bring to you a one-shot from Snow Secrets Here. This one is Break Room Sandwiches. And before we get into this one, I'm going to warn you about this one having the warning of graphic depictions of violence. Which is to be expected since I remember that this one features ICU Nurse Russia and ER Nurse America. Regardless of that, let's get into the one-shot. Can somebody get me more blood? America was desperately trying to staunch the bleeding in the abdomen of a man who had been found in a burning car wreckage, with one of the wheel shafts going straight through his stomach. He's losing blood so quickly, and he has multiple third-degree burns. It's not looking good at all. South Korea ran up to him, tossing him a walkie-talkie. ICU's calling. God damn it! America fumbled with the walkie-talkie, which was sliding around in his bloody hands. Here, help stop the bleeding, and I'll take the call. He ran off into the hallway, clicking onto the call. ICU. The cold, deep, accented voice of one of the ICU nurses came through the walkie-talkie, and America bit down a groan of frustration. Male Hispanic patient with third-degree burns, impaled in the abdomen with wheel shaft, shattered calf, coded twice, and bleeding excessively. Was he drunk while driving? Did he take any drugs? Russia asked, boredom filling his tone. He's been unconscious the whole time. The car was completely wrecked. There's no way of knowing if he was inebriated. Please try to find out if you can. America was fairly sure he heard tongue clicking on the other side of the line. What's his name? America gritted his teeth. He's a John Doe. Age? John Doe. How old does he look? America opened his mouth to reply, but then got distracted by South Korea's yell of, "Fuck, he coded again." After he regained his bearings, he turned his attention back to that absolute annoyance of an ICU nurse. He looks like a potato left in the oven for 6 hours, but I guess he's an adult. Family? John Doe, Russia. John Doe. John Doe. What do you not understand about John Doe? Did you even go to medical school? Russia sighed. If he was in the car, wouldn't his driver's license be with him? Set on fire, gone up in flames, left in ashes, like the patient will be if you don't stop wasting my fucking time. If you have no more information to give me, this call is over. I see you out. Russia hung up. America choked indignantly, but the phone was already beeping. Deciding not to waste any more time, he threw the phone on the desk with a clatter and ran back to the room. How can somebody code 4 times in 10 minutes? The curtain shielding the room America was in switched open, and he looked up to see the triage nurse, who had a woman who looked to be in her 40s or 50s. The woman seemed to be in pain, and she was limping slightly. Hi, ma'am. My name is America, and I'll be taking care of you today. What's going on? I've been having really bad headache and vomiting a lot. She coughed. I can't breathe very well, and my ankles are... She coughed some more. Swollen. America looked up. She does seem to be very short of breath, he concluded, noting that she could only get a few words out per breath. Okay, sit down. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your headache? Probably about an 8. America nodded. What's your name? Dina Mae Larkins. She plopped down on the bed, seemingly relieved to get off of her feet. America searched for her name in the hospital database, and a file came up, with a profile picture matching Tina's face. Alright, Tina, do you take any... The hospital curtain switched open again. America's head snapped, only to see Russia standing in the gap between the curtains and the wall, arms crossed. "You'll have room 3's files, da?" America suppressed the urge to roll his eyes. "I do, but give me a minute. I have a patient right now." Russia uncrossed his arms and put one hand on his hip and leaned on the wall with his other forearm. "Hold a show." America went back to Tina's file, scanning through the pages. Something caught his eye. He turned to his patient. "Tina, it says here you have type 1 diabetes. Are you taking anything for that?" "No." America tried his best to make his double take subtle. He blinked a few times and stared at Tina, praying, "Please, please be joking." Her face was 100% serious. "I believe God will help me," she continued without an ounce of humor in her voice. "I don't need inorganic medicine for him to do his miracles." America chanced a quick glance at Russia, seeing if he had the same reaction America did. Russia was staring incredulously at the patient, his eyes wide. He met America's gaze, and the two of them communicated silently, both agreeing on two things for once. Russia walked over and glanced at the file, then leaned close to America so Tina couldn't hear what they were saying. "What was the chief complaint?" America blinked at the proximity, leaning back just a bit. "Vomiting, shortness of breath, swollen ankles, and a bad headache." Russia opened his mouth again, and America answered the unspoken question. "Pain isn't rated an 8. Russia glanced at the file again, his brows furrowed. He turned back to America. "Diabetic nephropathy?" "Most likely." Russia straightened up, clearing his throat. "All right, Miss Larkins, come with me." He offered his hand out, and Tina took it, wobbling out of bed. America bit back a snort. The height difference between Tina and Russia was almost comical. When the two of them were almost out of the hospital room, Russia looked back at America and rolled his eyes very clearly. America huffed out a laugh. After they left, America turned back to his computer. Maybe the cold ICU nurse had emotions after all. It was about 10:30 at night when the flow of patients stopped. Given that it was the end of their shifts, Russia and America were in the dingy staff parking lot, somehow having parked next to each other. Russia started to get into his car, but then he stopped, stepped out, and looked at America again. America felt eyes on the side of his head. "What?" "You look kind of pale," Russia noted. "Is everything okay?" America stared at him in confusion. "My skin is white, Russia. As in literally the same shade as a piece of paper. I don't get what you mean by pale." "I know, I have eyes," Russia snapped back. "It's just..." He made some vague motions to his face, which only increased America's bewilderment. Russia shook his head. "I don't know, you just look... You don't look right. Both of us work in medicine. I can tell when someone's not feeling great." America rolled his eyes and crossed his arms. 90 minutes of sleep last night, no sustenance for the past 30 hours. Is that not great enough for you? Something crinkled as Russia rustled through his bag, and America barely had time to process the half-eaten sandwich bag that had practically been shoved in his face. "I didn't have time to finish lunch today." "Oh, thanks," America said, surprised. He unwrapped the plastic and looked at the sandwich, staring at the circular bite marks at the top. "Did you already eat half of this?" "America, I know you had to manually scrape literal shit off patients' walls at least 2 times today. Do not pretend that this grosses you out." "Oh, no, that's fine," America shook his head. "I was just wondering." Seriously, thanks. He took a bite of the sandwich. Did you make this yourself? Russia nodded a bit. It's my go-to. It's really good. America popped down the last bit and crumpled up the plastic, balling it in his hands. I know I already said thank you twice, but again, thanks a ton. He smiled at Russia brightly before getting in his car, which was not something Russia was used to seeing. Russia blinked a few times, not sure why his stomach felt weird. You're welcome, he muttered quietly, knowing America probably wouldn't be able to hear him with his car window closed. I don't think I've ever had a nice interaction with the ER nurse before. He stood there for a while before finally getting into his own car and leaving. When America exited the ER unit to go to his car, he found Russia standing in the hallway. Did you eat lunch today? Russia asked, a little too quickly. America aggressively groaned. Did you see the horde of patients from that multi-car crash? They came in at 11 today. No, I couldn't eat. He exhaled a little. Hopefully that ramen place is still open. Russia dug into his bag and pulled out a sandwich again. This time, fully intact. Here. America looked at him quizzically. I didn't have time for lunch today either. The horde. For some reason, Russia wasn't looking at him. Then shouldn't you eat this? America frowned. He had yet to open the bag. I'm not hungry, Russia replied, still not looking at him. Dude, you need to eat. America took the sandwich out of the bag and started to tear it down the middle. Here. No. You can eat it. I don't... Russia backed away a bit, shaking his hands. What? No, I'm not letting you go hungry. I have to go. Russia's voice seemed 3 pitches higher than normal, and he turned around and started walking away far too quickly. Just take it. Goodbye. Bye? America responded, confused. Russia was gone. America stared at the sandwich, flustered and bewildered. Well, it's a nice sandwich. Cheeks a bit warm, he took a bite into it, trying not to think too much about how Russia was acting when he gave him the sandwich. There probably wasn't anything to overthink anyway. Eventually, the sandwich thing became a bit of a routine. Each day they ran into each other, whether it was 12 p.m. or 1 a.m., and America hadn't eaten, Russia would drop a plastic bag with a slightly mushy sandwich into his hands before walking away, and not responding to America's shout of thank you. One night, after a particularly tiring shift, America had stumbled into his office, bleary-eyed with wet hands. If he hadn't washed his hands and changed out of his scrubs like the hospital required him to, he would have been covered in blood. People had died that day, under America's care. There was a sweet old grandfather who had a heart attack, and America was the one who had to give the order to stop resuscitation. And then a baby girl who had sudden infant death syndrome. Today was far from the first time America had been in those situations, but that didn't make his heart hurt any less. Still, through the madness and turmoil, there was something that grounded him now. Something he could look forward to with each passing day. America hadn't had the time to meet Russia that day, but even so, an innocent plastic-wrapped sandwich sat atop his desk, unperturbed amongst the mess of files and supplies strewn about the hard blacktop. America smiled. He ate the sandwich alone in his room, only pausing when he felt something that was not cucumber between his teeth. Slowly removing the sandwich from his mouth, he discovered a slip of paper in between 2 slices of bread, indented by his teeth. 495-609-7658. You can talk to me anytime if you're feeling stressed. Hi, this is America. You're texting me already. I thought this was for stress stuff. I'm always stressed. It's 3 a.m. Go to sleep. By that logic, you should be asleep too. Just go to bed. You first. No. Yes. No. Yes. Bye. Nighty night. :3. Don't :3 me. :3. I will shove a scalpel down your throat. America flopped onto his bed, giggling. Sandwich man. Ringing. America looked down at his phone, curiously. Russia? Calling him? That was strange. For one, they'd never called each other before, and two, Russia wasn't usually the one to reach out. He picked up. Hey, Russia, what's up, ma'am? Not like you to call. Russia was silent for a few seconds before responding. Hi, America. How was your day? America whistled, adding more broth to the soup he was cooking. Normal stuff. Schizo patient tried to climb out the window, 'cause he was convinced he was Spider-Man. Your daily dose of angry moms insisting their 17-year-old daughter, with her water breaking, ain't pregnant. Oh yeah, there was this one guy who came in with a bunch of bananas stuck up his ass. I mean, we get a lot of patients with things stuck up their butts all the time, but bananas is a new one. America continued rambling on about his day, but he noticed that there were no snarky interjections Russia usually made. The only things that came from the other end of the line were dry, quiet chuckles, and those only happened maybe once every 10 minutes. Eventually, he became concerned and stopped barreling on. You're being really quiet. Is everything okay? Russia? When Russia finally spoke, his voice was hollow. 6-year-old leukemia patient. It didn't take a genius to figure out what Russia meant. America quickly opened up his computer. Russia's address was in the hospital faculty database. He stared at the bubbling pot. I made enough for 2 meals, intending to have some for dinner tomorrow night, but I'll be able to cook tomorrow night as well, right? Russia quietly groaned, resting his head on the table. He had called America about an hour ago, hoping that his voice would distract Russia from everything that had happened that day. America's voice was loud and stupidly cheerful, and sometimes brought back memories of arguing with him over the hospital phone. But strangely enough, it cheered Russia up. Russia had been happy enough to just sit there in the apartment with a cup of tea, listening to America ramble on, letting that voice distract him from everything else. And then America just randomly hung up, with no text or anything to clarify what was going on. He hadn't called Russia back either. And now, Russia was sad again. The dregs of tea were cold and bitter now. Russia had watched the rain hammer against the window. Thoughts a blurry gray mess. He was contemplating just going to bed and crying himself to sleep, and Russia startled, standing up from his chair and pushing it back with an unpleasant screech. Who was outside his door at this hour? He went to the door and opened it, hoping it wasn't Jeff the Killer or something. It wasn't Jeff the Killer, but America stood in the beige-painted hallway, soaking wet and holding this weird pot that admittedly smelled good from under his arm. Hey. Russia blinked a few times and rubbed his eyes, wondering distantly if he was hallucinating. Why are you here? America glanced away abashedly. Noticed you were feeling down on the call, and I was making dinner, and your salad sandwiches are really good at making me feel better, so he lifted the pot. Soup. Russia didn't say anything, unsure of how to respond. He just rose an eyebrow at America, dubiously, partially in an attempt to act like his stomach hadn't just melted down and remolded into a bunch of fleshy butterflies doing sprints on his intestines. Chicken noodle soup, and it's still warm. America added. Russia snapped out of his stupor and gently pulled America inside. Geez, come in, it's so wet outside. You're gonna catch a cold if you don't rest in a place with heating. When America was inside, Russia tried to sit him down on the couch and wrap him up in a nice Sherpa blanket, but America insisted on setting the soup down on the table, grabbing 2 bowls from the pantry, scooping the soup into the bowls, and then getting them both utensils, and sitting at the table with Russia to eat. Russia spooned a bite of the golden liquid, hosting chunks of chicken and celery into his mouth. How do you like it? America asked. It was warm. The broth was savory, and tender noodles seemed to dissolve in Russia's mouth, sending a wave of heat and comfort through his body. He could just tell that it was homemade, that every slice of carrot had been cut with love, and that the stock had been poured with careful precision, only possible by hands holding an intense amount of care and dedication. It's good, he said weakly after swallowing a mouthful of chicken. Thanks. Chicken contains tryptophan, which the body uses to create melatonin and serotonin. I've always loved to make this soup whenever I'm feeling down, since it physically helps put you at ease. Seems like you needed that tonight. America's voice was so tender and kind, a contrast to the abrasive, boisterous front he put up on at work. Russia felt heat flood his body again, not just because of the soup. His shoulders relaxed, and he had this urge to be closer to the American, to wrap his arms around him and put his head on his shoulder, but it wasn't like he was going to do that. He didn't know how America would react, and they were also sitting on 2 separate chairs. Touching would be just awkward. They ate in silence for a while, slowly savoring the taste of the soup and the presence of the other next to them. America's arm brushed against Russia's sometimes, and Russia found himself relishing in the contact. When Russia was about halfway done with his bowl, America nudged him gently. Hey, I'm sorry if this is an intrusive question, and you don't have to answer, but what happened today? Russia sighed and put his spoon down. He was quiet for a few moments. A little girl I've been taking care of died today. His voice sounded nearly numb. He didn't look at America, but he could feel the other looking at him with patient, concerned eyes. She had leukemia, and towards the end, we knew there wasn't any hope left. I knew she was going to die when I started working with her. I've been taking care of her for the past 4 months, so I knew it was going to happen, but... He sighed and rested his chin on his palm. What was her name? America asked quietly. Luna, Russia answered, voice hushed. I used to play with her and tell her folk tales. She always wanted to be like Maiden Sar. He chuckled sadly. When I told her that the Maiden Sar left the fleet of 30 ships, her immediate reaction was, I want to be her when I grow up. America patted Russia's shoulder. Did she know she was going to die? Not until the last month. Her parents clung to their little shred of hopes until the very end. They didn't tell her until when the doctor told them there was nothing he could do. For the very last time, they didn't accept it until then. They were holding her hand in the last minutes of her life. They answered all of her questions and they told her they loved her, and she told them that too. Right before she died, she asked me if she was going to be Maiden Sod in heaven. I told her yes, and she smiled. She closed her eyes and died. Her parents didn't start crying until she died. They needed to stay strong for her, and I didn't cry until the day was over. I need to stay strong for them. His voice cracked at the end, and he covered his mouth with his hands. America saw a distinctive glimmer in his eye. Here, let's move to the couch. America coaxed Russia out of his chair and helped him to the couch, wrapping the Sherpa blanket around them both. Russia buried his head in his knees and choked. Muffled sounds came from his curled-up figure that indicated he was trying not to cry. America wrapped his arms around the Russian, gently massaging his back and running fingers through Russia's hair. Hey, it's okay. You can cry. You don't need to stay strong in front of me. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Russia turned and buried his face in America's shoulder, sobbing incoherently while America tightened his hold on him, humming softly and just being there. And somehow, that was the best thing he could have done. Russia's sobs slowly died down into silent tears and sniffles, and he nuzzled drowsily into America's neck, feeling safe, feeling home. And at some point, he felt a soft kiss in his hair. Hey dude, do you, eat? If I didn't, I'd be dead. Yeah, I know, but, you always give me your lunch? Do you eat lunch? Oh God, please don't tell me that's a no. It doesn't matter. Maybe I have something else to eat. You don't have to know. Rude. Wait, does that mean you cook extra for me? I'm honored. Good night. Wait, Russia, come back. I was joking. Just tell me you're not starving yourself. Please. Poke, poke, poke. Ugh. Yes, I'm eating. I don't look any skinnier in it, do I? Now please stop spamming. I'm trying to get sleep. Yay, thank you. Good night. The next week, America was typing notes on his computer when he heard the door to the room open and saw France and Russia standing in the doorway. Oh, hey guys. Russia, what are you doing here? Isn't it your day off today? Or are the ICU guys such workaholics that they come in on their days off? Hey, what happened to your hand? Originally, America's voice was teasing. It changed to concern when he saw the white bandage wrapped around Russia's palm. Even China doesn't want to come to the hospital on her day off, Russia replied, taking a seat in the patient chair. Somehow, I sliced my hand open, cutting carrots. America, you can take it from here. France left the room and closed the door. America nodded at her and turned back to Russia. Dude, that's unlucky. The one day you don't have to be here. And boom, now you do. He laughed. Did you sterilize the cut? Sterilized and bandaged, Russia responded, holding his hand up. Let's get this over with. Nice, I'll get you some stitches. America grabbed a needle and thread and gestured for Russia to put his hand out. America noticed Russia's hat. What's that? I've never seen it before. Oh, it's called the Lushanka. It belonged to my dad. I just like to wear it. He shrugged, clearly a little embarrassed. I've never seen you in that before. I don't wear it to work, not sterile. America nodded. Makes sense. He paused. It's cute, though. Russia looked away a bit. Thanks. They chatted a bit while America stitched up Russia's palm. Russia tried not to blush as he felt America gently holding his hand to keep it stable, even though America was wearing gloves. Funny that I ended up taking care of you, America chuckled. Maybe one day you'll end up taking care of me. Please don't end up in the ICU, Russia responded humorously, eyebrows knitted. Aw, somebody's worried about me, America teased, though he had to admit that the statement had caused a few flutters in his stomach. But I don't know. We can't predict the future. Nothing can stop a semi-trailer from running into a red light and T-boning me in the middle of the street. Russia stared him down, gaze dark. America was fairly sure he would have punched him if America wasn't currently sewing up Russia's hand. Okay, no more talking about our unpredictable futures and impending dooms. America finished sewing and clasped his hand over Russia's, being careful not to disturb the stitches. Technically, this was already a risky move, but Russia's hand was pretty nice and warm. It would have been fine if he was cautious. He cleared his throat. Well, your stitches are done. You can come back in a week to take them out, or if you want to take them out yourself, I'll take them out myself. There was a slightly flustered note in Russia's voice, but it wasn't too obvious. Okay, I'll get you surgical scissors. America removed his hand from Russia's and stood up, grabbing a package and tossing it to Russia, who caught it in his good hand. Throwing scissors around. Very responsible of you. Russia chastised him, though there was definitely a twinkle in his eye. Hey, they're package, America retorted, failing to keep a smile off his face. All right, if you say so. The corners of Russia's lips poked up a bit. He lifted his hat and ran his fingers through his hair, standing up. See you tomorrow. America's grin widened. See you then. America couldn't focus that morning. He was still thinking about the previous day when Russia had come in for stitches. Russia. That damn nurse had been at the top of his mind for a while now. What's going on? He's not even here. Why is he distracting me? America rubbed his forehead. Lunch break was soon. I'll talk to Canada. He knows about this feeling stuff. When lunch came around, America walked into the break room, seeing his brother eating a panini. Hey, Can Man, can I talk to you about something? Canada glanced up at him. You and Russia finally realized your long-standing crushes on each other. What? America screeched a bit, looking around wildly to check if anyone had heard. I don't, what? Canada looked unimpressed. Since the dawn of time, the two of you have been bickering like an old married couple. Some of my colleagues were actually speculating that the two of you were dating or something in secret. I don't really believe that, but it does seem like you two have feelings for each other. I always argue with the ICU nurses. They're always asking for information I don't have. Yeah, but you spend more time on the phone with Russia. America was at a loss for words. Canada went back to his panini. Also, people have seen you eating his sandwiches. He's kind of famous for them. Cuba was wondering why he started bringing 2 sandwiches to work, and then we saw you with one of them. Wait, he brings 2 sandwiches? Yeah? America's face was probably super red at this point. He rubbed his cheek, thinking back to all the meals Russia brought him. It makes sense that he was bringing 2 sandwiches. I thought he was just refusing to eat. After a few minutes of America reeling over what Canada had told him, he managed to form words again. If that's the case, then I guess... Hey, America. A hand landed on his shoulder, and America almost passed out from shock. Have you eaten yet? America turned around, trying not to look too flustered. Not yet. Russia pressed a sandwich bag into his hands, not looking surprised. Here. Thanks. America backed away a bit, hoping Russia couldn't hear how fast his heart was beating. He opened the bag and took a bite out of the sandwich, still unable to meet Russia's gaze. Russia nodded and walked away. I'll go back to work now. He left the break room. America just stood still, gathering the courage to turn back to Canada. As soon as he turned back around, Canada burst into laughter. Oh my God, you're so infatuated with him. Canada laughed, banging his fist on the desk. My sassy put-together twin brother looking like a tomato. Shut up. I get it. I like him. America collapsed into the chair and buried his face in his hands, just about ready to die of embarrassment. You don't need to rub it in. Canada patted his shoulder, still giggling. If it makes you feel better, he obviously likes you too. I could tell from his eyes. You should ask him out on a date. He'll definitely say yes, unless he passes out from heat stroke. You're so mean, America whined. I thought the pediatric nurses were supposed to be nice. Nice to kids, Mayor. Canada stopped patting his shoulder, and America heard the sounds of chewing. Supposedly, Canada had gone back to his lunch. But maybe I'll be nice enough to set the two of you up. America lifted his head and half-heartedly shoved a Russia sandwich into his mouth. Shut up. Canada held a potato and mayonnaise sandwich in his hands, staring at it with some interest. He had been looking for a certain medication that day when an unfamiliar hand tapped his shoulder, and Russia had been standing behind him, holding the familiar plastic bag. Can you give this to America? I did not get the chance to drop this off, and I need to leave early. Canada smirked. Yeah, I will. I'm sure he couldn't live a day without it. Russia smiled slightly, which Canada found surprising. The ICU nurse was known for having a bit of a stone face. Russia's eyes fluttered away from Canada for a second. Something was gleaming in there that was unidentifiable. His cheeks seemed a little pink. Thanks. Russia left. Canada chuckled to himself as he went back to rummaging through the medicine, the sandwich tucked securely in his pocket. Love truly takes someone back to their teenage years. He had seen it on both America and Russia's faces. They mirrored the young people Canada saw on the streets sometimes, anxious and excited about stepping into new, unknown territory. First love. He could have seen his brother and the ICU nurse as high school rivals, the rivalry dying down in the face of unexpected feelings that became the gossip of the whole school. The thought made him reminisce about his youth, which was nearly 15 years past. He and America got off their shifts at the same time, so they walked to their cars together. Once they reached America's car, Canada stopped him as he was about to get into his car. Wait. America stared at him curiously. Yeah, wait. What are you hiding behind your back? Canada winked at him and pulled his hand out from behind him, revealing the sandwich that Russia had dropped off for America earlier. A certain someone told me to give this to you. He winked. America's eyes widened slightly, recognizing what it was. Oh, thanks. He fought to keep a grin off his face, and failed miserably. Canada laughed and patted America's shoulder. Just doing my brotherly duty. America blushed and quickly opened his car door, putting his bag inside. Bye, Can. See you later. America opened the sandwich when he got home, smiling at the taste that had now become home. After a few bites, he just looked at the sandwich for a while, adoring the familiar sight that had mayonnaise, boiled potatoes, carrots, and for some reason, pineapple. By no means was it a gourmet meal, but it was made with love, and America felt like that meant more than the work of any Michelin 5-star chefs. And wait, was that something white poking out of the sandwich? Paper? Again? He thought back to the first time he'd found a note in one of the sandwiches, when Russia decided to give him his number. America pulled it out. America, I'm too shy to say this to you in person, or at least I don't think I could do so without tripping over my words and completely ruining any chance I may have had with you. So here's this. I'm sorry if you think this is a coward's way out, but it kind of is. I just don't trust myself enough to tell you this face to face without throwing up or something. Is it weird for me to say that in the past few months I've grown really fond of you? God, I'm blushing just writing this now. You used to be really annoying. You know, I could never get the information I needed out of you. I needed to take care of someone. It's still the same now, but you've also really sweet and funny, and you always cheer me up, and I really like you, America. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I want to say this to you and take this opportunity while I have it. So, if you feel the same way, will you go out on a date with me? It's totally fine if you don't want to. Please don't feel pressured to say yes, and I'm really sorry if this feels lackluster. I don't know how to express what I'm feeling. I just like you, and I hope you feel the same way back. And I don't know how else to tell you otherwise. With love, and a shit ton of embarrassment, Russia. America stared at the note for what must have been a solid minute, brain short-circuiting in shock. Wait, no way, he wants to go on a date with me. Yes, 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 yes! America just started jumping around and dancing around his kitchen, screaming and singing some incoherent nonsense. He didn't even know what he was saying. He was just over the moon with joy. Just on the absolute top of the world. When the adrenaline ran out, America found himself on the floor, panting hard, absolutely exhausted and face steaming from all the running around and dancing he just did. Still reeling from shock, a wide grin spread across his face, and he started giggling. He was definitely going to accept Russia's date offer. He rolled around to lie on his back, still ecstatic. He really didn't know if he could just go up to Russia and say he accepted the date offer. Besides, accepting the same way Russia had asked him out would be cute, right? So, food time. America got out the ingredients for a meal he thought that Russia would like, humming to himself as he did so. At some point, he couldn't resist putting on a playlist of corny pop love songs, singing them to himself in the kitchen while he danced around, chopping up vegetables and things. After about half an hour, when the meal was done, and lovingly packed into a Tupperware, America took a post-it note with his reply on the back. I really like you too, Russia. I could say stuff about sandwiches and things, but there's not much space on this note, so I'll save it for later. That being said, I definitely want to go on a date with you. XO, America. Hey, I see you. Russia picked up the phone, internally preparing for the ER staff to roll a gravely injured patient up to his unit and not give them any of the information that they needed to take care of whoever this is long term. It was part of his daily life at this point, but it was annoying. Hi, we've got a... Russia stilled when he heard America's voice on the other end of the line. It wasn't exactly a surprise. They'd been in this exact situation more times than they could count. But today, specifically, it was a bit awkward. Why? Russia had found a Tupperware of chicken noodle soup in his office the night before, with a short but efficient note written in America's sprawling handwriting, basically saying that he returned Russia's feelings and was interested in going out on a date. He nearly passed out when he saw the note, and had been riding on a euphoric high of anticipation for the past 15 hours. But he'd wanted to have his next conversation with America about the date and stuff, not over the phone, about a random patient. The line was silent for a few seconds, both of them thinking about the fact that they liked each other, but hadn't talked about it yet. He heard America clearing his throat. It's a 19-year-old Caucasian girl, around 140 pounds, who overdosed on fentanyl. We gave her naloxone, and she's stabilizing, but she's going to need to be supervised for a while. Rush started writing down the case, biting the inside of his cheek. I've pictured my conversation with him today at least 10,000 times, and the last thing I expected it to be about was fentanyl. All right, we'll prepare a room. Do you know her name? Melissa McNeil. It was silent for a few more seconds as Russia looked for Melissa's file. Normally, Russia would ask for more information, but Melissa's info popped up quickly, and America had given him more off the bat than normal. He decided to just end the call, since it was getting stiflingly awkward. Okay, thanks. Russia swallowed. Are we going to talk later today? My shift ends at 7. Russia nodded, then realized that America couldn't hear him nod. "I'll see you then." America hung up. Russia sat there for a second, blinking. That was a lot less chaotic than his phone conversations with America usually were. Although, that was probably because both of them were admittedly not as focused on their actual jobs as they were supposed to be. He exhaled and went back to work, getting up to prepare Melissa's room. The two of them met in a parking lot that night, shortly after 7. America chuckled, trying to break the tension. "Isn't this kind of the same situation we were in the first time you gave me a sandwich?" Russia blushed, averting his gaze. "I guess." That night, that first sandwich, had been the start of something new. Was this about to be the beginning of something again? "So," Russia swallowed, "you want to go on a date with me, right?" America hid his mouth in his hand before feeling himself heat up in embarrassment, but also giddiness. "Yeah, is 9 or 10 a.m. this Saturday alright? I don't know why it feels a little strange to do dinner, but we could, meet in the morning and go to a coffee shop, if that's alright with you." Russia couldn't keep the cheesy grin off of his face now that the now familiar sensation of butterflies awakening from their chrysalises and fluttering to life in his stomach. "Sure, I can do 9. Do you want to talk about the specific place?" I have a place in mind, if that's okay." Russia's interest was piqued. "You do? Where is it?" "Oh, it's this cafe a few minutes away from here. I go there sometimes in the morning. I just really like the vibes, and I think you would too. Unless you're thinking about going to a different place." No, it's fine." Russia shook his head. "I was just curious. I'd like to check it out." "Okay, I'll send you the address later." Russia parked his car about a block away from the address America sent him. He got out of his car and stared at the red leaves fluttering in the wind, swallowing the lump in his throat. Autumn was coming into full swing, and there was a distinctive, but not uncomfortable, chill in the air. He pulled the hem of his sweater nervously, trying to muster up the courage to just walk down the block and have his first date with America. He stood at the door of the coffee shop for a few minutes, mind racing. The sound of feet pattering behind him got his attention. Russia turned around and saw America running up to him, wearing a soft red flannel and black jeans. "Sorry," America panted. "Did I keep you waiting?" Russia shook his head, cheeks warming. "I just got here." He scanned America's figure. "You look nice." America's face went pink. "Thanks." He reached forward to adjust the collar of the shirt Russia had worn under his sweater, letting his fingers trail down to the other's arm. "You too." Russia smiled, touching the other's hand. He felt America thread his fingers through his, curling them around each other as if it was the most natural thing in the world. America opened the door, leading Russia inside. A bell jingled as they entered. "Hey guys, what can I get for you today?" The peppy barista, whom America mentioned was also the shop owner, popped up behind the counter in front of them, tapping away at the order screen. "Oh, America, you brought in a new guy?" He looked down at their linked hands. "Boyfriend?" "We're trying out the dating thing, so maybe." America squeezed Russia's hand and shrugged. "Oh, I wish you the best of luck. So, orders?" Russia cleared his throat nervously. Any recommendations?" America stifled a chuckle. "Oh, we're kind of famous for our hot chocolate," the barista winked. "But this is a coffee shop?" "Yes, but we're known for these." The barista ducked down under the counter and came back up with a bag of multicolored marshmallows in hand. He shook them teasingly. putting a finger to his lips. America looked at Russia for confirmation, then turned back to the barista. Alright, we'll get 2 hot chocolates then. Okay, I'll have those set up for you in a second. Have fun on your date. Thanks. See you. America waved at the barista before walking away, leading Russia to a small table with 1-person couches on either side at the end by the store window. They each took a couch, sitting across from each other. A few minutes later, the barista walked by again, 2 mugs of steaming hot chocolate in his hands. There you go. Russia picked up his mug and peered into it. That's a lot of marshmallows. Wouldn't be famous if it were a normal amount of marshmallows. America took a sip of his hot chocolate. Imagine that barista were actually a gang leader and the marshmallows are actually used to drug people so he can kidnap them. Russia commented nonchalantly before trying the drink. That would actually cut out with the AK-47 that's hanging in the back room. America glanced at the door behind the counter for a second. He turned back to Russia. But how's the drink? It's really good. We should go here again. America smiled warmly, liking the implication behind that statement. Agreed. The 2 of them sat in comfortable silence for a while. Every so often, the bell would ring and someone would come in. But overall, the shop was pretty quiet. They just enjoyed each other's company. It was a bit strange, hanging out with each other in a romantic, non-medical space. But Russia would like to get used to this. So, what do you like to do outside of work? Russia asked, looking at America over the rim of his half-full hot chocolate mug. America thought for a moment, humming. Fencing. I've been doing it since I was about 6. Russia's eyebrows shot up, intrigued. He grinned. Really? Damn, I wish I could do sports. Fencing sounds really cool. It's really fun. Kinda expensive, though. I still really love it. America took a sip of his drink. I probably would have been a professional fencer had I not been an ER tech. Russia whistled. Wow, mine feels lame now. Your hobby? What is it? Russia glanced away slightly. Bookbinding. Lame? Russ, that is actually the opposite of lame. You mean you can just pick up a book randomly and change the packaging to your heart's content? That's so... Wait, when did you start doing this? America's eyes sparkled. High school, Russia laughed. It's so lame, actually. I started doing it because my friends and I wanted the hind board from our parents. His voice faded to a quiet mumble during the last part of the sentence, and he covered his face with his ushanka. America screeched in laughter, having to place his mug down on the table so he didn't spill hot chocolate everywhere. Oh my god! You! Out of all people, you were the one sneaking around porn. Wait. He dissolved into giggles again, holding his stomach. That's so funny. Man, I wish I was your friend in high school. Dang. Russia was hiding his face behind his ushanka flaps now, but America could tell he was giggling as well. You didn't even have to be my friend. You could have just gone to my school. We actually ran the black market of sorts using my bookbinding skills. Wait, no shit, really? Yeah, we would take stuff like hentai or erotica and disguise it as fiction books or school textbooks, prices depending on length. Russia lowered his hat flap slightly, looking at America through one eye. That was actually how I had my bi-awakening. Sheesh! America ran a hand through his hair. And you never got caught? There was never one nosy mom who decided to pick up her child's textbook? Russia shrugged. Man, I don't know. We were just teenage and horny, and had the person who bound the books oddly professionally on hand. It was weird. There's actually so much I don't know about you. America's eyes shone as he chewed on a marshmallow. Apart from the time when I went to your house, we haven't actually interacted much outside of work. Russia nodded. It's a bit strange. He paused. It's nice, though. America took another drink from his hot chocolate, then frowned when he tasted the powdered dregs at the bottom of the cup, looking in to see the last few drops of liquid swirling around at the bottom. Damn, I really finished that fast. Russia had his cup on the table, and by the looks of it, he had finished as well. He glanced at the barista. Is he going to be annoyed if we stay here too long? Actually, he probably will, America sighed. That date had gone by too fast. I'll go pay. Russia started to get up. Are you sure? Nah, my treat. America smiled at him. After the bill was paid, the two of them left the coffee shop and stood outside for a while, both silently reluctant to leave. America cleared his throat. I actually don't have anything to do for the rest of the day, so we could continue walking around if you want. He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. That sounds really fun. Russia linked their hands together again, rubbing his cheek. Where do you want to go? Well, they actually ended up going a lot of places. They walked around downtown for most of the day, going to a museum, a movie theater, a park, and a bookstore, before eventually ending their day at a late lunch, early dinner, around 4 p.m. So much for not having dinner on the first date. And, well, they got to know each other a lot better. Was it impossible for someone to fall harder in one day? Neither of them would have thought so, but when America squealed and wrapped his arms around Russia and started shaking him at the movies, spilling popcorn all over the floor, and both of their laughs, or when Russia started ranting about Romance-era artists and America saw a shine in his eyes that he had never seen before, both of their minds may have been changed. They were back at the coffee shop at the end of the day, since that was where their cars were. Russia was positively glowing, and America felt more alive than he had been in years, the spark of a new love alighting both of their faces. Russia squeezed America's hand, and America looked up at him, nose pink from the autumn chill. Thank you for an amazing day, Russia said softly, staring into the other's blue eyes, the ones he had seen so many times, but never got tired of looking at. America grinned at him. You too. Then, without a warning, he wrapped his arms around Russia, burying his face into the other's shoulder in a warm hug. Russia, after a second of shock, reciprocated, melting into the sweet embrace. Eventually, America pulled away and pushed a stray hair behind Russia's ear. See you on Monday. Yeah, I'll see you there. Russia turned away, smiling like a little kid. He heard America walking in the other direction. A slight skip to his step. For the first time in what felt like forever, both of them were looking forward to work again. 3 months later, America walked into the break room, wiping his hands dry on his scrubs. His face split into a grin when he saw his boyfriend, who made eye contact with him and slid a sandwich bag to the seat next to him, patting the table. Hey, Russ! America plopped down onto the hard plastic chair, pulling the sandwich out of the bag. You really couldn't have told us that Mr. Massive Exit Wound had a morphine allergy before we tried to give him painkillers and stitch his stomach back together? Russia reprimanded him, taking a bite out of his own meal. Hey, we were kind of focused on, the fence spikes sticking through his torso and not his medicinal allergies. America shoved Russia in the shoulder lightly, laughing in good fun. Russia pushed him back. Hey, when you get off tonight, do you want to go back to my house? I know you were excited for the Sea Station movie, or whatever it was called. We can watch it together. You mean Deadpool and Wolverine? Heck yeah. America pumped his fist, then he snorted. You're still calling it the Sea Station. I didn't know this guy existed before last month. Russia raised his hands defensively. America laughed before shoving the last bit of sandwich in his mouth and looking at his watch. Shit, I gotta go back to the station. See you later, babe. He leaned over and kissed Russia briefly before leaving the break room. Russia smiled to himself as he looked at the sandwich in his hands, wondering how something as simple as potatoes shoved between slices of bread could have led them there. But no matter how it happened, this incident wasn't one he'd regret. And that's the end of this one shot. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, before I get on to anything else, I'd like to just note that look at the cover on the side of the screen. I drew that. I think it took me about an hour. So I don't know how long this took me, but this probably took me 4 hours plus the hour that it took to do that. So 5 hours for this one. I hope y'all are fucking happy. I hope y'all are happy. But this has a one-shot it has a one-shot book, but it's in a one-shot book somewhere, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look for it. But I, for the life of me, cannot navigate the one-shot book, so I just read it on AO3. And that's why I made the cover, because I for the life of me, cannot find it in the one-shot book. If you can, you're a god amongst men, and I guess we praise you now. That being said, I want to invite y'all to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you, and I will see you tomorrow.